Okay guys, in the second video I'm going to show how we're going to read from text files in C#. Let's get to it. Okay, so you guys remember the GUI we have? We have, in the first video, we've written out input from the input text box to a text file, and now we want to read from that text file and display it in the list box output. Remember to always import your system.io for you are using input and output. Always import this library when using text files or writing any file for that matter. So remember our code for writing text files, and now let's go to our read button and start coding to read text files. So it's going to work on the same principle as for the writing, but instead of using a stream writer, we are going to use a stream reader for we want to read right now. So I'm just going to call it read file, and then I want to equal this read file to a file. What have we done here at the top? We have created and appended a text file. Now we want to, surprise, surprise, we want to open a text file. And of course it wants the path, but since we know that the output.txt file is in our debug folder, we can say output.txt because we know it's going to exist. We have put it there in the first video. Remember to put the .txt extension, otherwise your program will crash because there's no such file. It's not going to create the file like in write file if it doesn't exist. If it doesn't exist, it's going to throw you an error because it can't read. Okay, so what do we want to do? Well, we don't want to write, we want to read. So surprise, surprise, we're going to say read file. First, we're going to say listbox items .add, and then I'm going to get to my surprise, surprise. Surprise, surprise, we're going to read file dot read line. And that's that. And of course, what did I say? You always need to close it. So we have our open step, processing step, and close step. Always remember that 3 steps. Read. And we have one line. Okay, but wait a minute. There's not just one line in the text box, are there? Let's go to our debug folder, output. No, in fact, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines. But we have only read 1. So let's read again, Okay, no, that's not going to work for us. We want the entire text file to be read into our list box. Okay, so how are we going to do that? With a while loop. You guys have done while loops now, so you should be very comfortable with it. I'm going to throw this line into a while loop. While. So what's our conditional expression going to be? Remember, this should return a Boolean value of some sort. Well, if you think about it, I want my read file to read lines as long as there are lines to read in my text box. Okay, so let's just put that around in code. I want to read while my read file and is not at the end of the stream. Okay, as you can see, this property returns a Boolean value, and if you read it, it says it gets a value that indicates whether the current stream position, that read line, whether the current stream position is at the end of the stream, because we are reading a stream, aren't we? So we want to say while read file not end of stream. And how we are going to say while this is not at the end of the stream? Well, we're just going to put an exclamation mark in front of the read file. So this means while I am not at the end of my file, keep on reading and keep on putting items in my text box. Okay, and we're going to start read, and there we have all of our lines, and you can see my program has not crashed. It has read to the end of my line and put it in my list box items. So once again, we want to read until everything in my text file is read, and we do that with the end of stream property from my read file. And remember, my read file is of the stream reader. So let's put this in a try real quick. A try and a catch. And remember, this is going to be an input-output exception. Message box.show .message. Okay, so I'm going to crash this program, or not crash because we have a try catch, but I'm not going to reference my output.txt, I'm going to make a typo. Output.txt. It's very funny. So now we should get an error that says this file doesn't exist. I can't read anything. Okay, so let's start. Oh, if I missed something. Oh, okay, I'm glad this happened. So this is not getting a reference because I'm initializing read file in my try. So let's just move this line under my while, and now we can start. Okay, so I want to read. Whoa, could not find file, and the path to my debug folder, output.txt. Okay, so I'm glad this happened, and I wanted this to happen because I've made a typo. It says the file doesn't exist, and because we're not using a stream writer class, it doesn't create it or anything. It just says it can't read the file because the file doesn't exist. This is the path to my repo and my debug folder. So what do we want to do? Okay, I see my output.txt is not named correctly, and then we won't get an error. Okay, so that's all I wanted to show you guys with the read file. Read file is pretty easy. Always remember your try catch and your input output exception.